And in the olden days, we used to eat Twinkies and Ho-Hos and those snow buns and all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Are you telling me those aren't good for me?
They're not. Welcome back to Old Dog New Tricks with Harley and Malarkey. We're having a busy morning. We're about to take off for a flight for New York. We have to leave here in less than an hour. But we didn't want to leave our viewers, our listeners, without a week of hearing our voices.
All 27 of you, we are here for you. We are here for you. We love you. We love your commitment. So as I'm a chef and you're a nutritionist, I thought it would be fun if we stopped talking about penis positivity, relationships, relationship gaps, kids, those sorts of things. Well, actually, this is kids. And I thought it'd be fun if we actually talked about something that we know about.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I'm surprised we haven't talked about it yet.
Well, actually, I don't know much about this subject, so I'm going to be asking you a lot of questions about this. But it's about diet.
Yes.
And jokingly, we were walking around yesterday, and we walked into a liquor store. And maybe we're looking at a neighborhood that we might be thinking about moving to. And I said, oh, my God, my kids love a good liquor store snack area.
What kids don't?
And you said that you also used to love some good liquor store snack areas.
I would ride my little bike or walk my little feet over to the Circle K.
Circle K.
I was really into blue taffy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Blue taffy. So that's what I want to talk about is I'm like, what is the food that we've been eating for so long that you can't buy in any other country but the greatest country in the world, America, right? And so the idea that you are not allowed to eat Wheat Thins or Skittles in other countries because they're not considered food brought me to this realization of like, what are my kids and what is our country eating?
Yes. And I think since we've been together, I have shifted the way your children eat a little bit. It's hard when you're on the fast moving train of teenagers. You can't fully steer it around. But this is also timely because there's a lot going on. There's a movement going on, I think, with mothers. I think Food Babe is one of the people that started it. That's her Instagram handle. Like, why does the United States get the worst formulation of every single major food company in the world? So if you look at the ingredients for like Fruit Loops in the US or even Skittles or Wheat Thins, I don't necessarily think they're illegal. I think the formulations just might be different.
Just not considered food.
Well, no, they have different formulations. Like they can't put in certain chemicals that here in the US we are allowed to put into our food. So something really interesting is that in the United States, a chemical is innocent until proven guilty. So you are allowed to add any sort of chemical to any food, any cosmetic product.
Until it proves that it causes cancer, but it takes about 30 years to track that information.
The only thing that you have to do is the company itself has to do their own internal testing and say, hey, this chemical is generally recognized as safe. The company that's making profits off of it has to decide if the chemical is safe or not. And then once it's in rotation, if people start dying of cancer, if people start getting adverse effects, then we start studying it. So we don't even pull it off the market. We just start studying it. So
freedom. Oh, sorry.
Europe only has about 400 chemicals that are allowed in their food system and are allowed in their cosmetic products. The United States has thousands because of this crazy way that we've decided that we put big business ahead of the health of our society.
Exactly what you just said. A whole bunch of chemicals, but it brings me to your blue taffy, right? As a kid, you said, I used to love to go to the Circle K and get the blue taffy. I'm seeing what my kids are bringing back from the old local liquor store over here, right? What's this one called? We love this one, Sea Trainer.
Yeah.
Sea Trainer. I'm pretty sure my kids are supporting Sea Trainer. They are eating like these gummy, taffy, sour things that just almost like give you canker sores immediately. They love everything spicy, crazy, the chips that have all the different things just juiced into them. And I'm like, you're like wondering why these kids can't focus in school. Why are they grumpy? Why are they going through these things? And you come to read that because of our chemicals in our foods, that actually it's getting girls into their cycle earlier. It's really just messing up our whole entire society.
Yeah.
And even worse, then they go and they have a school lunch, which is just like this concentration of fat and carbs and sugars and everything like that. So, I mean, like I think we know the problem. I don't think we need to discuss. Thousands of chemicals released upon us, kids with money in their pockets on their e-bikes and their bicycles going to the local liquor store to get the candies and the sugar sodas. And they think those Monster energy drinks and the Red Bulls are awesome. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is absolutely crazy. So yes, we know the problem. Now, Dr. Harley D, how do we fix this problem? What are alternative options for us to try to trick our children into eating?
Okay. Well, one, I'm just going to ask, just to remind you, just to like try and listen to what I say.
I know that was a run-on sentence.
No. I'm just saying, like, when I speak, try and listen and then respond. Don't.
Well, I had too many sugary substance processed foods this morning. I didn't.
Okay. Well, you're interrupting me again. But just try and listen to what I'm saying, not focus.
Obviously.
On what I'm going to say next. Okay.
Yes.
Clearly, you're not good at this. The solution. Well, for someone like you that has 3 teenagers that are at this point in their life, there's only so much you can do. Like, there really is, you're not going to change everything for them because they've already been set down not a great path. So
I already messed up.
You screwed up.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about the best that we can do now and what we do now. And then we'll talk about, if you have younger kids, how you can hopefully set the train a little bit straighter. Yes?
Okay. This is so perfect because Halloween is happening right now.
Yeah.
And this is when the candy really starts to flow.
I have some tips for that also. What we do at home with Brian's kids, like when I first started dating him and the first time I was around for like school drop off and stuff, which was a year plus into us dating, I was like, holy shit, you feed your kids fucking sugar cereal before they go off to school for the day? Or they have toast, or they have fruit, or it was just all carbs and sugar, basically, because that's what kids want. Like, if they're not used to feeling the connection between what they eat and how they feel, they just want the immediate gratification, which is sugar, crack.
Well, that's what Mamie fed me. We had the best sugar cereal in all the neighborhood, and all the neighborhood kids would come on over. This is not a country neighborhood. I mean, these kids were committed. It was like over a mile to come to my house. But they would come eat our sugar cereal because they just loved it. And in the olden days, we used to eat Twinkies and Ho-Hos and those snow buns and all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Are you telling me those aren't good for me?
They're not. The interesting thing is, I mean, I think in the 70s, our food system was starting to get pretty bad. But even then, like, if you look at the ingredients in sugar cereal, what you were eating in the 70s versus what's in them today, it's gotten way worse.
No way.
Yes. But one of the changes that we made is I told Brian how important it is for the first meal of the day to have protein in it. For your kids, as an adult, if you can start your day, I mean, kids probably don't need 30 grams of protein, but they could probably use, 15 to 30 grams of protein in the morning. I think adults should have at least 30 grams of protein in the morning. And what that does is it sets up your blood sugar to be stable throughout the day.
So we bought chickens.
We did. But if you start your day off with a high sugar breakfast, your blood sugar spikes. And then when your blood sugar goes up that high, then it has to crash down again. And those blood sugar spikes and crashes really correlate to how you feel. So when your blood sugar is really high, you can feel good and energetic and excited. And then all of a sudden, when your blood sugar goes down, you have a dip in energy and you feel tired and it's hard for you to focus. So when you send your kids off to school with a high sugar breakfast, they're all excited in the car. They're awake when they get to their first period. And then by period 2, period 3, they're like trying to sneak their phone or distracting themselves because they've lost the energy. They've lost the ability to focus. And then you're kind of chasing that blood sugar roller coaster for the rest of the day. So then you're like, well, I'm tired. Now I'm craving sugar again. You eat more sugar and you do the same thing.
You're chasing the high.
You're chasing the high. I mean, sugar is an addictive drug, basically. And when you start with protein, basically it takes your body a lot longer to break down protein than it does to break down carbohydrates. It keeps your blood sugar steady. A little healthy fat is good also. That helps keep your blood sugar steady for longer. And then your energy doesn't go up and down. It just kind of stays stable throughout the day. And breakfast is the most important meal to start that off with. So if you have teenagers that you can't necessarily control what they eat all the time, you can control what you're feeding them for breakfast before school. So give them a high protein breakfast. We usually feed your kids, like you feed them eggs, you feed them sausage, you feed them bacon, you feed them some fruit, but you make sure that they're getting protein before they go to school.
It is absolutely crazy how messed up our diet is, right? So see, and then on the other hand is I can get some food into the kids now. I get them a little breakfast sausage. We got all kinds of different things going on there. Great, right? And then you tell me orange juice isn't good for them. And I'm like, oh man, that's crazy. Even though I use fresh squeezed orange juice, that's just another form of sugar.
People go back and forth on this one, but it is like, I think the most simple way to think about food and nutrition is just like, what did our ancestors eat? And, you know, did they have juicers? Like, no, for a person to have like 12 oranges, they would have been like, you know, maybe they found some weird leaf or something and they just couldn't stop eating oranges. You know, it's pretty.
That was the coca leaf.
Yeah.
It was not. Oh, that wasn't the orange leaf. All right.
The coca leaf, you probably wouldn't want 12 oranges. But it just if you think about it, nobody's really
See what you did.
Nobody's really eating 12 whole oranges in one sitting. And so when you're juicing an orange, you're getting a shit ton of oranges. You're not getting all the fiber that you get if you eat the whole fruit. So especially first thing in the morning, that can spike your blood sugar. So I think it's best to not have juice. I mean, it is, if you're going to give your kids something, like people even say that orange juice has more sugar than Coca-Cola. I would always give my kids organic, fresh pressed orange juice over Coca-Cola. Like,
you have children.
If I had them.
Oh, okay.
When I have them.
That was going to be a whole new episode.
But one thing I just did want to mention too is that I've done those continuous blood glucose monitors where you can see your blood sugar throughout the day, just because I'm a nutritionist and I find this stuff interesting. And I noticed one time I had like a piece of banana bread for breakfast, which I rarely ever do. And it was crazy to watch my blood sugar just go up and down and up and down and up and down all day. Whereas normally I eat protein for breakfast and it's kind of just this normal steady curve. So it was,
chasing the high.
Yeah, it was wild to see, like, wow, just screwing up my breakfast, even kind of getting back on track for the rest of the day really throws off your whole day. So number one, if you have teenagers, give them a good breakfast with good quality protein, some healthy fats, and some healthy carbs.
Now, as the old dog, I have a different pattern of eating. Doctor.
Yes.
I just don't eat breakfast. I just drink a lot of coffee. I mean, now that's right?
Well, it can be. The way that you do it is not. So that's what now has become popular as intermittent fasting, you eating in like a time restricted window, which there are benefits to that. Pretty much everybody, maybe unless you're like pregnant or have other health conditions, I recommend that they intermittent fast for 12 hours. So that means if you eat dinner at 8 p.m., you shouldn't ingest calories, even if that's sugar and stuff in your coffee, until 8 a.m. the next day. Giving your digestive system a break for 12 hours is really good for you.
Oh, good. I didn't know this. You hadn't told me this.
Oh, well, you learned
now I know. Oh my God, I'm going to start listening to this podcast myself. Whoa.
And so for other people, longer fasts can also be helpful. They can be good for your blood sugar. It can help you, consume less calories throughout the day overall. People feel, just more energetic, keeping their feeding, the time that they eat, to a smaller window of time. I don't recommend this as much for women who are still menstruating, so women who haven't gone through menopause yet, because your body can start to think that there's not enough food around or that you're starving, and that throws off your whole hormonal cycle, because your hormonal cycle is functioning thinking that your body's like preparing for pregnancy. And if it senses stress in the environment, like, oh, there's not enough food, it's not a good time to get pregnant. Does that make sense?
You're like the cavemen were stealing all the food back in the old days, and the cave women were like, oh shit.
Sort of. And then their body shuts down so that like, oh shit, there's no food. The cavemen are stealing it. I shouldn't get pregnant right now, or my baby doesn't have as good of chances at surviving.
Interesting.
So women that are still in their menstruation years, I don't recommend usually fasting for more than like 14 hours. There are certain times of your cycle that you can. Someone like you're okay to fast and not eat until noon, but
because I don't get hangry.
No, you do. You just don't realize it. But the thing that you do wrong is that when you do have your first meal of the day, it's by the time that you're kind of feeling faint, you're just fucking jacked up on caffeine. And then a lot of times what you reach for is just like a handful of nuts or a handful of gluten-free crackers to keep yourself from falling over. So that's not good. You should do the same thing.
Raw almonds. I thought I could just live on raw almonds.
It's not the best thing. It's not like the most bioavailable source of protein. They have things in them called phytic acid and lectins that are bad for your gut. I think phytic acid is a lectin. Anyways, so if you are going to fast, I would recommend that you usually probably have a meal around 12, and then that meal should be high in protein and healthy fats.
Yeah.
And then you would be set up better for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Yep.
But instead,
you know why they call it breakfast?
You're breaking the fast.
Because I actually messed that up when I said that. You know why they call it break fast? Because you're breaking the fast. I really messed that one up. And then we get to the desserts, and we get to, so you make dinners and you do this and this and this. When I quit drinking, real quick, can I talk? I just want to talk a little bit, please.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks. Somebody might need to eat some food. You know what I'm saying? Ooh, hungry. So, I did something recently that really kind of changed my whole thing. When I quit drinking a couple years ago, dessert became really, really awesome. When I drank a lot, I never ate dessert because I was getting all my sugar.
You never even really ate?
Yeah, I didn't eat it all. All right. I was a great drinker. I was a liquid man. Right. So then all of a sudden, yes, when you quit drinking, your taste buds really start getting excited. You need that sugar. You want that. I became a really good dessert eater. And I took you with me for this journey.
Yeah.
And then about 3 months ago or so, I took a month off of eating sugar. And for the first week or so, you're like, oh, kind of craves. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, my God, I don't even crave the sugar anymore. And then after my month was over, I didn't even rush back into eating sugar. And now my sugar consumption is so much drastically lower. Even the other night, we ordered all the desserts at Herb and Wood, and I just had a couple bites.
Yeah.
And I was content. And if I eat too much, I'm like, oh, I'm going to get cracked now. And so I have a whole new relationship with sugar.
Yeah, no, I think because sugar is very addictive, like it's really helpful to take some time off and to let your body reset. And I think that's another thing that like just people in general struggle with. Like people want to lose weight, but they have such a hard time like moderating how much they eat. And it's because there's so many chemicals in our food designed to make our food addictive. And so when there's times where I'm like feeling like I'm not as in touch with my natural hunger signals, what I recommend that people do, or what I do, is I try and make all my meals at home. I try to like cut out.
Boring. I mean, that sounds fascinating.
No, but I try and eat my meals from home, eat things as close to nature as possible, like eat good quality proteins, fruits, vegetables. I'll still even eat like dark chocolate and stuff like that. But when I'm eating out a lot, like we got Thai food last night, there's like MSG and all this salt and shit in there. And it just makes you hungrier than you are if you eat a normal meal at home. So if you're feeling like you've been traveling a lot, you're struggling with your cravings, just go back to basics, eat protein, vegetables, fruits, maybe a little dark chocolate at home, make as many meals at home as you can.
You know,
and you'll start to
I'm a restaurateur, and my job is actually get people to eat out. See the roof on the house?
Well, because my co-host has ADD, this isn't as straightforward as I wanted it to be, but I think that we could also give you we eat out all the time. So I think we could also give you some tips. How do we stay healthy by eating out all the time?
True.
Would you like me to answer that? Do you have anything to say?
Well, no, I did want to say, I want to touch on the MSG. There's lots of arguments on if MSG is actually that bad, but that's a whole other podcast. So yes, you do get
Do you know the scientific arguments around the pros and cons of MSG?
No, but okay. I think it'd be fun if our audience like asked if I knew, and then I pretended like I did. Because there's arguments behind it. Yeah. It's the same with the seed oils and the MSGs, and there's a lot of arguments about things, and I don't want to get into those right now.
Well, I think I could simply answer the arguments to all of those things. It's like, are those things that our bodies have become accustomed to eating over thousands of years, or are those manufactured chemicals, or those manufactured oils? Like, if the answer is yes, like there are things we were accustomed to eating, they're good for you. If the answer is no, they're probably not great for you. But, you know, things in moderation aren't going to kill you, but as much as you can eat whole foods, unprocessed, the better off you're going to be. It's really simple. People try and make nutrition complicated. It's not.
And we'd like to thank our sponsors at Whole Foods. No, we don't have Whole Foods sponsor. Yes, Yes. I get that. I get that. Moderation, what you just said there, is so extremely important. And I don't think a lot of people in our country know moderation. They don't know moderation in drinking. They don't know moderation in eating. They don't know moderation in gambling and drugs and women and all those things. So moderation is a whole nother podcast also.
It is. Well, I think moderation is related to dopamine. We're all addicted to like little hits of dopamine. And one of the things that you can do to improve your ability to be moderate is like one of the things that you just shared. You took a whole month off of sugar. And so you pulled yourself out of that cycle, that pattern interruption. And then now you've gone back to sugar and you're able to have a few bites and feel satisfied.
Yes. You were going to discuss something before I rudely interrupted you?
Oh, well, just when we go out to eat, like I would say we always like, what do we order when we go out to eat? Like sometimes we'll be like, oh, we want something a little dirty and more
But what we
rich,
always
but
do,
we always start with like some raw fish usually, depending where we're at. Like we'll get a hamachi, we'll get a tartare, like something light, high in protein.
but that's a whole nother podcast. Because if you're not at the restaurant that has the cleanest bathrooms, don't ever eat the raw fish. I'm just telling you, it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Literally, probably hand in hand.
Good point. We like the place we eat the most is your restaurant. So I try
Guaranteed clean restroom and clean fish.
Yeah. So like we'll order some raw fish, some good protein that's like light, that gets you kind of eating something that fills you up a little bit. The worst thing that you can start with is like the bread basket. Restaurants give you the bread basket because it doesn't make you less hungry. It actually increases your appetite.
We don't offer bread baskets.
You do offer Parker House rolls.
For sale.
Yeah. But starting with something like a nice light protein, a nice green salad, so that you're going in there and you're eating something that's nourishing and good for you and filling you up a little bit. And then like maybe we'll get like, we got liver pate that's on like really good buttered bread with all this salt. But before that, we've had our light fish and our light greens. So we're not starving. So we can take a couple bites of that and feel really satisfied.
Two things in this one, please.
Yes.
One thing that we always do is we share all of our dishes.
Yes.
So then you get the variety. If you get a big old plate of one thing and you grew up, this is my second part here, is a lot of us old dogs grew up in the days going, eat everything on your plate. There's people starving in China. You got to eat everything. Well, you don't necessarily have to.
No.
Take it to go, do whatever you want to do. But because we love variety so much, we share everything. So I'm not just like, this is my meal. I get bored of a dish after like three bites. Like, oh my God, I'll have the salmon. I'm like, I've had enough salmon. Let me have some of your hamburger. Let me have some of that, whatever it is. And so by eating those things, you get a variety and you don't just fill up on one thing. And so erase that old people. I don't think your generation cares about this stuff as much, about cleaning your plate.
Yeah. The Depression era.
Yeah. The boomers.
Yeah.
I got raised by boomers. You got raised by a boomer though too.
I did.
So, and then one other thing is you can eat bread when it's really good. All right. Like pick and choose. Like if it's a pastry that's been sitting in a display counter all day long and it's like at, let's just say a coffee shop, Starbucks. And he is like, is that worth my temple? You know? No. But man, if you're at a really good restaurant that bakes their own bread, you eat the bread. Okay. You eat it when it's like crafted. And then it's like, whoa, no excuse. And it's probably really good for you, like eating bread in Europe. When I went to France recently, we ate bread and pasta and butter and cream and everything all the time. And I gained zero amount of weight. You do that in our country with our processed flours and our processed proteins and our processed everything, you're going to just be explosive. And it's incredible when you eat really handcrafted products made smartly that they don't do those things to you.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah, we try not to eat refined carbohydrates unless they're really worth it. And refined carbohydrates are like bread, pastries, etc. Like we went out to brunch yesterday. Very mediocre brunch, but I got a burger and I didn't touch the bun because I didn't need it. It wasn't, I'm used to like not eating buns at this point unless they're really good. Not that that's how you have to do it. Like you could just have a couple bites of your burger. But I think if you eat out all the time, you need to make little swaps like that or you're not going to feel very good.
And if you really want to enjoy your loved one's buns, maybe they should eat a little less buns unless you like a big bun. Then you can have all the buns you want. It's a bun. It's a bun party.
Well, we got a little bit away from the reason we started, which was teenagers. So we did discuss.
No, I don't necessarily think it was teenagers. I think it was just diet. Our diet, your diet, their diet. Their diet's the one that screams at me.
Okay, well, just to finish that point, we talked about breakfast. That's the meal you can control. It really is the most important meal of the day. It sets you up for success. So you're feeding your kids a good breakfast. Most parents are not really cooking their kids lunch to take to school. Most kids don't really even want lunch to take to school. I think that's the
nice little hot lasagna to go.
Yeah. I think that's the best thing that you could do if your kids will eat a homemade lunch. If you have the time to make a homemade lunch, like that's an amazing thing to do. If not, then you have dinner. And I think that if you care about the health of your family, you will find ways to feed them well. And I understand that some people have little time and little resources, but you can get really creative with canned beans, with other sources of protein. If you're just eating whole foods and feeding your kids whole foods, teach your kids how to cook too. Like 13, 14, 15 isn't too young to help cook. You started cooking for your family at a young age, and look at you now.
Yeah, I just drink coffee until.
Were you not listening to anything I just said?
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, we have to eat healthy let's try to.
You can as a parent of a teenager, you can control breakfast and dinner and make those meals count.
Yes.
And then I think if you have younger kids, like I'm not
protein
exactly.
feeds the brain.
Protein feeds the brain. It's basically protein is amino acids, and amino acids are what make up your neurotransmitters, which are the chemicals that make you happy. So if you're not eating enough protein, you might not be happy.
Well, I want to be happy.
Yeah.
I want the whole world to be happy.
We all want to be happy. I think I don't have children yet, so this is just my very lofty goals. But like, I would like
righteous. Let me tell you how to do it. I have not done it, but let me tell you how to do it.
I realize that in practice it won't always work perfectly, but I think I do eat really well, so I'm able to model good behavior for my children. I want to get my kids in the kitchen with me. I plan to have. We have gardens at your house in Oregon. We're planning a garden for our house also, like getting the kids in the garden with you and starting to talk to kids about like how food makes you feel. Like, oh, this food made me feel so good, or like I ate too much sugar and it made my tummy hurt, or it made me tired after I ate it. And I think getting kids to understand that there really is a connection in what you eat and how you feel from a young age,
100%.
Because you're never going to be able to control everything that they eat. Like, yes, they get their own allowance. They have bicycles, they have e-bikes. Like, they're always going to be able to go and buy themselves stuff at some point. You can't control everything, nor should you, because your kids need to know how to self-police. And I think if from a young age, you're able to teach them that connection with their body and how what they put into it affects how they feel, then they'll be like, yeah, I'm going to get a Snickers, but I'm not going to get every single candy, or like, I'm going to eat my sandwich before I have my piece of candy. And that they become better at taking care of their own body as a temple, and they learn to respect it from a young age, so that they actually crave healthier foods, because like that kids do when you feed them good food, that's what they're used to eating. And that's what they want. Of course, they're going to go eat some sugar cereal at their friend's house and buy candy and stuff like that. But I think that having a good foundation would make a difference.
So let's leave with just one little tidbit of information.
Well, no, I want to do one Halloween trick. Also.
This is my Halloween trick.
Okay, well, I'll give you mine after.
Okay, so somebody told me this back in the olden days, and it's really, really good. All right, so the kids go out there trick-or-treating. It's fun. You have a great time. You give them the candy. You got the basket. You this. Trick-or-treat. Why doesn't anybody do tricks? That's all I ever want to know. But, so there's a lot of treats going on here. But we taught our kids, right? It's kind of the Santa Claus thing. You say, the great pumpkin. If you set your candy out front, the big basket, pick out your 10 favorite pieces of candy, and you set all the candy out there, the great pumpkin will come take your candy back to Candyland and leave you a nice little present, right? And then the kids put it out there, you throw it in the garbage can, right? And then you give them a little present, and everybody's happy. The great pumpkin.
That was my same trick. My mom did that when we were kids too.
Yeah.
It was the Halloween fairy. It wasn't the great pumpkin, but I like the great pumpkin.
The great pumpkin. So that's a good way to help get rid of the candy, because otherwise those kids are going to be peeling off. You're going to peel them off the ceiling for months. You know what I'm saying? Like just cracked. We're cracking our kids.
And if you have teenagers, they're not going to go for the pumpkin or the Halloween fairy, but you can often bribe them with money.
And if teenagers come up to your house to trick or treat, tell them a trick and do not give them a treat. They've probably already borrowed some candy from the smaller kids. Let me just tell you. All right? Teenagers should not be trick or treating. They're dressed in dark clothes and they're hiding around the corner. So we'll look out for them also. That's it.
Follow us on iTunes or Spotify or YouTube. Leave us a rating and review. We love it. Send us any questions.
Yeah, I dare you to.